In this week's episode of the Investors Corner, me, Mike and Ian are going to have a conversation around the new buzz that's on social media, being fractional investing. So what does it mean? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? And is it the new buy-to-let investment opportunity? We will also have a conversation about a recent survey that was carried out where 55% of tenants wanted their utility bills included in the rent because they found it too stressful to manage. And we will also have a conversation about what HMRC figures have been published that really shows that buy-to-let is still a great money maker. So make sure you tune in for this one. And if you like the Investors Corner podcast, then make sure you subscribe.
Welcome to the last ever episode of the Investors Corner in November 2023. Had you for a minute.
Clickbait. Clickbait.
Had you for a minute.
You had me worried.
I thought we were fired.
So the next few guests, this is where we need our community of listeners and watchers to get involved. We need your help because the next few guests that we've got coming on, we have got a buy-to-let special, end of year wrap up, what's going to happen in 2024. We've got HMO specialist Peter Licorinas coming on. So end of year wrap up on HMOs, what's coming in 2024 and therefore after. We've got a few other little special guests coming on as well. We've got someone about auctions, so we can get a little inside scoop into what's happened with auctions this year. The last time we spoke, it had doubled in terms of 1% to 2%, I think, in the last couple of years. Has it got to 3%? We'll find out. And we've also got some other random
Commercials
investors.
booked in.
Commercials booked
in. Yep.
Who's that with?
Chris Thomas, one of Berkshire's leading commercial agents, is going to come in and talk to us about commercial investing.
Make sure I'm on that one. I want to quiz him.
You're
I've
not?
got some things. Brilliant. I'm away.
And then I'm working on...
I'll give you the question.
And then I'm working on a watch investor.
Okay.
So yeah, bit of a change from property, but it's interesting to hear what he's got to say on watches. There's a lot of talk about watches at the moment, Rolexes, Omegas.
I'm a Garmin guy.
Yeah, there's
Not a lot of talk
no
about those.
resale value
No.
in Garmin.
Great to put through the business. What? Didn't say that. What I did wonder though, I wonder if you do JV watch investing. Is that a thing? Because some watches.
I guess as long as you trust the person who's holding the watch.
That's true. Yeah, 6 months of the year each, sort of thing.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's on my wrist.
So we've got a lot of guests coming on. So if you've got questions and you want to get involved, for you individually going into 2024, if you're an active investor or you want to be, and you want to be in the podcast asking those experts the questions, give us the questions and we will be your voice. We will get those questions put to them. So don't miss this opportunity to be involved. That's what we're all about here. You know, we've been going for 2 years now and we love the community questions, the conversations, the DMs that we get. So fire them over. Don't be shy. Even if you're a first timer, fire it over. Everyone's got to do it at some point. Andy, you've got a body of handwritten questions on your iPad. Let's talk about them. What are you saying?
So in last week's episode, I talked about the buzz going around social media and different investment opportunities for property investors. And last week I spoke about social housing and that potentially being an avenue for investors where, you know, you haven't got the headaches of maintaining your properties. You know, a social housing provider would do that for you. You get better returns on social housing as well. But another buzz that's going around social media at the moment is fraction investing.
Break down social housing for people just in summary.
Social housing is where you have a large property. It could be a HMO property. You basically go to social housing providers who house their vulnerable tenants. They cover the rent, so they are responsible for paying the rent. They offer long-term agreements, so 5 to 7 years tends to be the average. And you obviously get higher rental returns as well for housing those vulnerable tenants, being under the care and control of those social housing providers.
Can you uplift the rent still annually, or is there some sort of term, or is it locked in? It's a higher rent, but it's locked in for 5 years. I think
you can include as part of the agreement with the social housing provider that you might have an inflation rate increase throughout that. Okay. They're going to have to do that, or else why would you want to do it if you can't increase your rent?
It's great if you get a higher rent, but the way rents are going at the moment, 7 years is a long time with a lot of rent increases, isn't it?
It's a long time. But I suppose for for an investor, if that was their long-term goal to rent it out, then it's sort of guaranteed that you would get that rental income, because the social housing provider would keep that for that period of time and put different vulnerable tenants in there. So it's sort of guaranteed income, really. And like I said, they cover the maintenance. Now, what standard that maintenance would be, I'm not too sure. So that's one of the risks for it. But it's another option.
Yeah.
It's another option.
Long-term option.
So fractional investing, Andy. What is fractional investing? How does it work?
So
and why?
It's not something that I've looked into before. I don't know about you guys, I don't know about our listeners, but when I looked at fractional investing, it seems to be where you split the costs of an asset. Okay, so I could have a property, instead of buying that property as a buy to let, I could buy a share in that property, and there could be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other investors along with me buying a percentage of that property. You own the right to the deeds of that property as well, so it's not like a timeshare option. And it seems to stem from what the wealthy people have done previously, i.e. with yachts, holiday homes, art, private jets, things like that, where they buy a share in this asset and they
That's something
can
more
use it.
Ian's sort of
Yeah,
gig, isn't
Ian's
it?
used to the private
and
jets
yachts,
and all
yeah.
of that. He just
Yeah.
he just buys them outright, though.
Yeah.
Actually.
You
Quite
don't
aware
need
of that.
you don't need anyone to share that with you, do you?
No.
So yeah, it seems to stem from that, really. So it gives an opportunity to people that want to invest in property that don't necessarily have the large outlay to invest in property. And you can do this fractional investing from as little as £100 to do. So some of the benefits, obviously, of doing it is you've got the smaller amounts there that you can invest in. Like I said, start as little as £100, and it helps you finance a second property instead of having that large outlay. The only things that I can see from it is that because there's multiple investors that have a share within that property, obviously you're not going to have the say on everything that happens with that property. So normally anything like repairs or you want to make any changes to the property, you need to go to all of those other investors and basically get their confirmation that you all want to do it and that you're all happy to proceed and all deal with the costs. And the property is normally managed by a management company. So again, doing this, you don't have the headaches of managing anything.
I've got a red flag.
Oh,
as you're talking, I'm getting more and more turned off. This is an idea. It feels like a lettings and management company flogging off houses that normal people won't buy to people who can't afford them and have no exit strategy. Does it not? I understand real estate investment trusts where you're buying a share, a legitimate share, just like you would on the stock market, of a company that owns 10,000 properties. But if I'm going in with 100 other investors and crowdfunding a house, if I want my money back, someone's got to value that and someone's got to want to buy it. And it's an unproven market.
Well,
and as you said, it's managed by a management company that you can't control. I feel like either with property, you're either in total control or you need to go into something massive that has a really, really wide portfolio, balanced portfolio of different things. Am I right, or am I on the negative Eeyore side of the table?
That's the disadvantage of it. Some companies do it differently. So when I've had a look at the companies that are offering to do something like this, some people specialize in the upmarket flat. So you could have a flat that's in London that's worth £650,000, £700,000, and they deal with the high end market. Or you've got other companies, like you said, where the property's not very attractive and not valued at a high amount. So it's two different ends. But like you said, that the disadvantage is that you're not in full control of this. It's
And
just to get
anything I invest in, I want to know what the exit strategy
Exactly.
is and when.
Exactly. But you're relying on 7 other people to have the same mindset as you. You don't
or a pre-agreed contract in what's going to
I
happen.
see it a bit like, if you've got a business and there's 10 shareholders, there might be a majority shareholder, but there might also be someone that's worked in the business for 5-6 years that you've offered a small share to. Everyone's got different voting rights. Everyone's got different exit plans. If someone wants to leave, it might be built into the terms that you have to offer it inside before you offer it outside. I can see that it being a way for people to put 10 grand into property, which you can't do unless you do something like this.
Yeah.
I don't know whether each person within it has a different skill set. Is there a refurb artist? Is there the money person? Is there a sourcer? I don't know if that's the case. £100 seems a bit pointless. Seems like a bit of a weird setup.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think who benefits from it. I'm thinking there's got to be, where you said the company that's offering it, the company has to have some sort of influence in the service providers at the top end.
Well,
they're
they
making
probably
some
have
sort of kickback on
management
spinning and
company.
sourcing and managing.
That's probably where they get it from.
They make all of that, and then they're using crowdfunding, if you like, to go and purchase. But I guess if we looked at this building here, 4 different businesses working out of it, with, I think there is probably about 9 shareholders across those businesses. Maybe the 9 shareholders come together and say, right, should we start buying property collectively? How much money could those 9 shareholders raise together? So they can put a war chest of £2.5-3 million together at different percentages and different levels, is a fraction of what the overall kind of purchase and acquisition opportunity is. So I can see it working in some cases, but I think it's definitely something that we need to get an expert on, don't we? Really?
I think so. We need to know more about it, because like you just said, if you had the shareholders within this building, 9 different shareholders, you'd probably meet those shareholders, find out what the goal is, find out what the aim is, and work together on it and use each other's skills. With a system like this, you're not meeting those people. You don't know who those other people are. So you're buying something in a property, say 25%, and you've got 3 other investors, 25% each. You want to make decisions on that property. You don't know who they are. They could be right arseholes. And not.
It feels too
anything.
small in comparison to one of the investment trusts where you're buying a spreadsheet investment where they're saying, well, over our 10,000 properties, they're 97% occupied with X amount and X, Y, and Z, where you can sort of project their growth and reinvestments. But as Ian said, in a different situation where you can build your own group, that's a whole different investment, isn't it?
The third property I bought with my 2 best friends, and it was a fixer-upper, and we had a clear plan. We were going to buy it. They were going on the mortgage. I'd already owned a property. They didn't own properties. One was a gas fitting engineer, so kind of in the trades. The other guy had a bit of time on his hands, and then I found the property and obviously put the deal together, as it were. And the plan was, we refurb it, we rent it out for the last 18 months of the mortgage term, and then we sell it. Halfway through doing the refurb, one of them found out that he no longer could live at home, so he ended up moving in as the tenant, and then the other one moved in as a tenant, and then we had a third tenant staying in there. And the 18 months had kind of come round, and obviously my ambition was to pull it out. We'd put in about 13 grand each, something like that. It wasn't a lot. It's when you could get like a 10% deposit, and it was dirt cheap. Put in about 13-14 grand plus refit, and we were due to pull about 35 grand out each. It was, fairly good win for 2 years worth of work, 20 grand plus. But because they were living there, they were comfortable, they were in the time of their lives in their own house, they decided they didn't want to sell it. So although we kind of verbally agreed it, I was in a bit of an awkward place because I kind of wanted to go with it. So what I don't know with fractional investing, do you have that same problem, or are there rules to the game that stop that actually being a problem? Actually, it could be a good thing because you're all playing by the black and white rules, whereas in that case, we're playing by verbal friends agreeing over a beer what we were going to do effectively. Did sell in the end, because one of them wanted to buy somewhere with their new partner, but obviously it was a year or so later than what I had anticipated. But the house had obviously gone up in money, so it wasn't the end of the world. But as an example, I wonder whether fraction investing, you see more of that or whether you see less of that. So it'd be interesting. What else have you got on your notes, Andy?
So, other thing, news article that came out recently. Half of tenants want bills included in the rent.
Yeah.
So, with this one, I mean, my opinion on it is that if I was a landlord, I would never include bills in rent for the simple fact that I don't want someone leaving the heating on 24/7 at 23 degrees, costing absolute fortune for that property. Having a bath every single night with water. So it's just not something that I would do. But this survey that came out, it was 2,500 renters. 55% said that they want bills included because they find that managing multiple bills stressful.
Welcome to the real world.
Crimea River. Yeah. I can't believe it wasn't 100% of tenants want bills included, because of course you want your bill. I want my bills included in my mortgage.
Yeah.
But my bank's not going to do that for me. So
what you've got there is a tenancy split of 55% of people that are very unlikely to buy a property, and 45% of people that are shrewdly spending money on bills with a plan to save enough for a deposit to buy a property. You've got a clear split of two different types of personalities, of people that will stay as tenants forever because they want to maximize and take advantage of paying a high proportion so they don't ever overpay, because they struggle with running bills and they're happy to pay extra. For 45% of people saying, no, I'd like to be in control because I know I'm efficient with my money and my utilities, and they are most likely to become the next set of first-time buyers. It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, probably a really good read on it. Yeah,
that's pretty much how I see it. Does it include Deliveroo?
No, no Deliveroo, just heating, electricity, water,
TV,
and council tax. Actually, that was included.
TV bills.
I
mean, we're getting towards serviced accommodation.
Yeah,
really,
are,
maybe you should go into serviced accommodation. Yeah.
I mean, is there any advantage at all with bills included in the rent?
I think when we look at the building block we went to in Reading the other month, if you've got a premium block and you're treating it not like a hotel, but you look at a hotel, obviously bills are included, obviously, because you're there for a couple of nights. But if you're looking at it in the same fashion, I own this block. I've got 125 apartments in this block. I'm going to synchronize the bills, X, Y, and Z, make it super easy for the tenants to kind of feel premium luxury, but they're going to, for the convenience, they're going to pay for the convenience. And what we saw in that block is 50% uplift on standard rents in the area. Yeah. So, where normally you get 1,500 quid for a 2-bed apartment, they're getting 2.5 grand for a 2-bed apartment. So, over 50%. So that benefits everyone. It benefits the person that's in it because it's hands off, plug and play. And it benefits the landlord because they're probably in the margin of 125. If some people are having a bath every night, it's not all 125 of them. Some people leaving the heat, it's not all of them because people are human. Not all.
Yeah, and if you're the developer building one of those buildings, you can build it with that in mind. That everything is zone controlled and this, that, and the other, and blah blah blah. To actually to manage rather than just letting someone loose with their own thermostat.
Accidental landlord with a 3-bed end of terrace, bills included?
No, never.
Not the way to do it.
No. Yeah. No. Agreed. On to the next one. You ready for my last third one?
Yeah, hit me.
Yeah.
I like it.
HMRC reveals record sums earned by landlord investors. So, obviously, got a bit of a gloomy mood around sort of tax and in buy-to-lets, whether it's financially works out anymore.
It's not gloomy for the HMRC, Andy.
No, not for those. But they've sort of revealed that according to HMRC, the total property income declared by unincorporated landlords in 21 to 22 was £48.8 billion, which is up from 46 billion the previous year.
The financial year of 21 to 22.
It's the most recent tax return.
Most
you've done.
recent.
So, and that's unincorporated as well, because incorporated landlords are becoming more of a trend.
Yeah.
What that does is show that landlords really aren't selling off like a lot of the media will tell you. There isn't a great sell-off from landlords, and rents are increasing. So reality says the income for landlords should be a record every single year, because the rent goes up every single year.
And
rents have gone up over inflation. If we look at a 12-month rolling, that's a fact, isn't it? Rents have gone up over inflation.
And this was all based on 2.8 million landlords filing self-assessment.
I think more people are filing self-assessments than they used to as well. Going back a few years now, I know a lot of landlords who just flew by the wind and didn't bother.
I know.
And
we'll know a few of those,
very few now, because people know and appreciate that quite a few systems are interconnected and ways are being checked on, and a few landlords who have used the system to backdate tax returns with HMRC to become legit.
Yeah, and I think looking what HMRC said as well, this news article said, sorry, not directly from HMRC, but the total income from UK property increased by 10% in 5 years to 2022, and 100,000 more landlords over that period coming through as well, and the income from property for each of those rising to about £16,700 on average. So it just shows that there's potentially more landlords coming through, like you said, more. They may have clocked on and started doing their tax returns before they weren't. But those figures of landlords doing the tax returns and more coming in. I mean, where's all the landlords disappearing to, like what we're hearing in the media? I'm not saying that they're not disappearing, because they are. We know that they are, but maybe it's not as bad as what they portray it to be.
Interesting. I had dinner last week with an ex-Google employee.
Oh, here we go. Here comes the name drop.
No name drop. No name drop. And he
are unnamed.
He works in the blockchain world,
right?
And is a coder, and kind of that area of space. And on the other table was someone that deals with fine art printing, so 3D art printing. And if you see a boxing fight and you see the massive banner on a building, he prints those and other bits and bobs. They both started having a conversation about Bitcoin and crypto. I'm going to mic drop leave this podcast on this. And the fine arts investor has got a huge crypto wallet, and he has seen his Bitcoin increase over the last 12 months by over 100%. I think it was 106 or 108%. The other chap is obviously involved in that area of space with being in blockchain as well. And they were talking about the fact that Bitcoin going into January is probably going to drop for the remainder of the year. And then they expect it to go from January through to the summer months on quite a fast, I can't remember what they called it. It's like a bull run. That's what they're calling it. The bull run will happen at the start of next year. And it all comes down to a habit and a pattern. And the moral of the story is, I'm not going to be putting any money in Bitcoin because I don't trust what they said. But it was quite interesting to hear it. It was quite
Andy's running home.
It was quite interesting to hear it. And I think we probably need to get someone on the podcast that knows more about crypto, just to get their side of the story. I wasn't sold over the dinner table, if I'm honest with you. But if there was two people that I should be sold by, it's someone that's got a huge crypto wallet that deals in that market, and
a fella from Google.
Someone who used to work for Google that's way more intelligent than I am. Young guy, very, very intelligent guy, and in the blockchain world can do things that other people can't do. So it was very interesting, because it spiked me a little bit to think we need to bring more of that conversation to this podcast. So if anyone's listening and you know someone, or you are someone, there's a lot of people out there that do a lot of tuition on it, and they're very kind of passionate about articulating that. If that's you, give us a call. We'll get you on. Till next week, thank you for joining us on the Investors Corner.
Why have we made the Investors Corner podcast, Ian?
I think online at the moment there is just way too much noise, waffle and nonsense. Everyone's got an agenda. So the goal was to make a podcast for people that want to invest money in property or other areas where there's no waffle, there's no nonsense, there's no agenda. It's opinion led, but it's an honest opinion. And it might not be the right answer, but we're going to share it.
So on the podcast, we're going to supply people with access to mortgage brokers, financial advisors, planning experts, development consultants, everything around the property industry and the wider fields.
Yeah, so if you're looking at investing in the future, you know that just having an income from your employer or from your business is not enough to give you the life that you want down the line. We're going to hopefully give you some of those answers that will give you the solutions you need for the future.
So please hit the subscribe button. The more subscribers we get, the better guests that we can get on and the more people that we can reach. So hit subscribe.